Welcome to Pario magazine, where I chat with individuals who have a desire to create. Today, I'm joined by a West Australian singer-songwriter who recently released an incredibly inspiring single, Oh Well, ahead of her EP, Respire. Welcome to Pario magazine, Jay Wood.
Hey, how you going?
Good, thank you. So we're here today to chat about your journey through the world of music, your single, and the new EP. Before we dive into that, though, do you want to give us a little introduction as to who Jay is away from the music studio?
Sure. Who is Jay? Well, she's a mad ocean junkie. That's probably one of the main things that I should let people know. If you never find me on land, you know where I am. I'll be somewhere on the coast in the ocean. I think I never feel as at home as when I'm in the ocean. So that's one part of who I am. Or in the garden. I've turned into somewhat of a hobby farmer.
Okay.
um, so I've, built an orchard and planted out my garden and yeah, hanging out with my dog, just outside generally. I
Okay. So
like to be
yeah,
out and about.
you like to get out of the confines of the studio and out in the wilderness.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the world's such a beautiful place and I like to explore and be in nature, I suppose, kind of get back to my roots or everyone's roots, really.
Very nice. So then on to the music. When and how did you first discover this particular passion?
Um, I think I was about 16 when it kind of got a real interest sparked in me. Um, I made a friend who, you know, went busking and played guitar and sung, and I just thought it was so cool, and um, I just really wanted to do that as well. So I started kind of teaching myself, and my dad, who is an avid guitar player, noticed that I was showing interest, and so he's a surfboard shaper, and he ended up swapping a surfboard for a really beautiful Cole Clark Fat Lady from a guy, or with a guy, I should say, and he gifted that guitar to me. I remember coming home from school and seeing a guitar case in the lounge room, and it wasn't mine. I didn't know whose it was, but I just kind of was like, "Oh, I'll have a little squiz at this," and opened it and took it out and had a little pluck and a little play. And of course, my dad caught me and was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Nothing. Oh, sorry," and put it away. And then he kind of laughed and was like, "Oh, that's okay. That's for you." So that was I still have that guitar actually, even with the crack in the neck. um, but yeah, that's sort of where it all begun. And I've always really loved writing. Um, so whether it be, short stories or poetry or, prose, whatever it is, I've just really always loved to write. So I started kind of taking some of my works of poetry and turning them into songs and adding guitar riffs and just really simple stuff to them. And really, I loved it. It was kind of a big hobby of mine from about, the age of 16 and right up until, you know, I was 24.
Okay.
And when the accident happened. So I never played for anyone ever. I just would, it was something for me that I did. Never showed anyone my songs or anything up until then. So for a fair few years, it was
Very
just
nice.
me and my bedroom thing.
So obviously you had the friend that was an influence that sort of pushed you into beginning to sort of play, and then your dad. Who else were big influences on you musically, and how have those evolved over the years?
uh, Probably Missy Higgins would have to be my biggest influence since I was 13. Oh, she's just a dreamboat. I have loved her music and always, just thought, oh, that would be just such a cool thing to do. She kind of blew up when she was quite young as well. And it was kind of in the back of my mind, but I loved her music and her sound, because I think it's very authentic and poetic as well. And I love the way she uses her lyrics and just like the whole package, basically. So I've always very much admired and looked up to Missy Higgins. But also in a complete, and if this doesn't sum up my personality, I don't know what will. Completely opposite end of the spectrum, Chrissy Amphlett from the Divinals.
Okay.
And I went through a few years being obsessed with her. So I suppose that's kind of like my earlier years. Missy Higgins, still love her. That's my style of music that I really enjoy listening to. And yeah, I mean, I guess over the years, I'm pretty open. Like I like all different kinds of music depending on the mood I'm in. So, more recent, I guess, artists like Phoebe Bridgers, and Maggie Rogers. I quite enjoy listening to them. So yeah, I guess similar vein, I suppose, to singer-songwriter or Missy Higgins style. But yeah, it just depends on the mood that I'm in as to who I'm listening to and what I'm into.
Yep. Yeah. And Missy's actually lovely as well. We've interviewed her twice for the magazine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I haven't met her yet, but she wrote to me on my Instagram. I don't know how she managed to find me out of the many human beings that exist. But she wrote a little message to me on my Instagram that, of course, my mother got printed as magnets and put on the fridge.
lovely.
But yeah, no, she seems like a really beautiful person.
And we've been given a glimpse of the EP Respire with your single Oh Well. Can you sort of tell us a little bit about the story behind that song?
Sure. So, oh well, I guess it kind of morphed and changed with time. I actually wrote it in 2014, which was a very long time ago. However, I I wrote it for someone that I was, and I'm going to be very tactful here, someone that I was very, very much in love with and in a relationship with, planning to spend the rest of my life with. And then, as I guess it goes, life happened, and I got hit by the drunk driver in 2015, and the relationship ended very soon after that, unfortunately. So the song, when I regained the ability to play, which took a few years, it kind of changed. I felt it wasn't really authentic to leave it as what it was first written as, which was obviously the very jovial, very happy, spend the rest of my life with this person, all those feelings of love and excitement about the future. I kind of, although I really loved the song, I felt it wasn't really authentic to leave it that way. But without dragging it into, the depths of sadness and really changing it, I kind of just wanted to weave something in. So that's, I guess, why the Oh Well part of the song came through in between each verse, sort of as a reminder, I guess, that not everything works out the way that you think it's going to. But I guess the reason why I left it happy and jovial is because even though things don't work out the way that you're expecting them to, and that can be really devastating, it's not all bad. And although as humans we kind of fear change often, change isn't always bad. So I kind of wanted to leave it that happy, fun vibe. So yeah, that's kind of how Oh Well evolved. And yeah, I'm quite happy with the end result. I think my producer did a fantastic job. And as well with keeping it really, I suppose I don't want to repeat the same word authentic too many times, but like keeping that kind of raw sound.
Yep.
I really like that. You know, I love going to see bands and seeing musicians play when you can really hear each instrument.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Okay. And we've mentioned the accident a little bit without sort of fully explaining what happened. Do you want to sort of explain what
Sorry.
happened?
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose that's kind of part of the backstory and how I became a musician, actually, professionally at least. In 2015, when I was 24 years old, I went to go out for dinner with some friends, and our car was hit by a drunk driver. And everyone else walked away from that incident, and I unfortunately didn't. So I sustained really massive head injuries. I have what's known as a catastrophic traumatic brain injury. And basically, long story short, the doctors can't believe that I have recovered the way that I have. I guess there is something else out there looking after us all. And I guess me especially, because I'm still here. And the fact that I've managed to, you know, not only keep my intelligence, but regain the ability that I have to function as an adult in this world is pretty phenomenal. So I kind of that incident, which has taken, that was, coming up 8 years ago now. It's quite the long recovery process. So it's taken quite some time, but when I, in the beginning picked up my guitar, I will never forget it. I, sat down and I was kind of a bit bored because being bedridden is not fun for anyone.
Yep.
And I thought, I'll just play some guitar. I'll just, do that. And I picked up the guitar and I sat there, had it in my hands, and I'm like, oh, and there was just nothing. There was nothing. And I put my fingers in on some strings, and like there was nothing there. And I kind of went into shock because I couldn't believe, I was like, oh my goodness, this was a really big part of who I am, is music. And so not having that ability, it was shocking, devastating, all of those emotions. And my dad, I was a mess, crying, very upset.
Understandable.
And yeah, it's like, what thing now has upset you? But there was a lot of difficult things that came up post accident. But no, that one was a big one. And my dad took me aside and he said to me, "Don't worry, Jess, it's in there. We've just got to find it." He's like, "We'll find it." And I was, how are we going to find it? Our brains are such complex little computers, machines. I don't even know what you want to call them. They're incredible. But he helped me and he taught me, I think it was a G, a C, and an A chord. And that was the beginning of the process for me. I don't know whether it switched something on or maybe even just a spark within me that, no, I'm gonna, the accident had taken so much from me, it's not taking this. Mm-hmm. So I started to relearn again. YouTube, beautiful thing. So printing chord sheets and all the rest of it. And I slowly learned how to play very basic stuff. But my songs were all, I didn't know where they were. I kind of had, the more that I practiced playing, I had the tunes come back. Like I could hear how it went. And then I ended up going and finding all my really old you know, where I've written my journals, where I'd written lyrics and things like that. And I kind of very slowly, I think it was over the period of about 2 years, pieced everything back together. And so some of the songs that are on my upcoming EP, you know, they are the same but quite different as well to their original. They've kind of morphed along with, you know, my brain injury and my abilities to play, which I don't think, again, is a bad thing. You know, change isn't always bad.
Yep.
So yeah, like, it's been a pretty hectic 8 years, but I think I can't really speak about this without saying, sorry, I do get a little bit emotional with this kind of thing still, that, you know, I was told by all the doctors and all the people around me that, you know, I'm totally and permanently incapacitated now, and I will never work again in any capacity. Pre being a musician, I was a primary school teacher, and before that, I was a journalist. So I have a background in those fields that were gone like that. And when they said that, you know, that's just it for me, and, you know, so be it. I was 24 years old. I'm hopefully going to live until I'm like 100. That'd be great. So I'm looking down the barrel of like another 60 years, twiddling my thumbs. You know, it didn't sit right with me. And basically I just decided that would not be the case, and that I'm not going to be. Like, I think that being labeled as disabled, although yes, I have struggles with certain bits and pieces in my life because of my brain injury, you know, disability is not no ability. And I think that a lot of people forget that. And although it may be more difficult for people with disability, it does not mean that there is nothing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of took that information and went, well, you're saying I can't, watch me. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it twice.
Yep. Yeah.
Or 5 times, you know, on the EP, we got 5 songs. So it's kind of I really want to be able to show people that against all the odds, whatever they may be, you know, everybody goes through difficulties in their life. I very much understand that, and understand what it's like to feel like you have nothing, and, you know, or maybe you feel like you are nothing, but it's just simply not the case. And if you believe that you can do something, no matter how many people say you can't and that you won't, you know, you can. And it's just a thought. That's all it is. It's just a thought. And if you allow yourself to get sucked into the, oh, I can't and I won't, and then, you know, you're only going to end up in a really dark place. I went there. But being able to know who you are and hold on to that, because at the end of the day, only you're going to know who you are truly, and only I'm going to know who I am truly. And same goes for everybody. No one can tell you what you can and can't do. Only you can. And if you really believe, no matter what, that you can do something, I mean, I never my whole life thought that I would, you know, be playing music to crowds and recording music and putting a CD out and having interviews with magazines and radio. And this is all, like, I feel like I'm living a movie, you know, like it's just so outside of what I ever dreamed my life would be. But I just decided, I just made a choice, and I said, no, you don't get to tell me I can't. I can. And I did. And so I'm like, I'm no different to you. I'm no different to any other person. I'm a small country kid, just, living their life. And I'm just like, if I can, anyone can,
Yeah,
I guess.
that story definitely resonates with me because I personally have cystic fibrosis, and I've had a lot of doctors and stuff say like, oh, you can only do so much. And I think when doctors tell you that, there's that like inner stubbornness to be like, no, I'm going to prove these people wrong.
But it's good. But you know what? Like, I think that it's important to have that inner stubbornness, because at the end of the day, no matter what difficulties you've got, I can't tell you what you can and can't do. Like, I'm sure that you've said, well, watch me, look
Mhm.
at me go, know? And I think it's brilliant. And I think that it's such a shame that a lot of people, it's almost as if people don't realize their own power. We all have this beautiful power within ourselves. It's like, I like to think of it, it's like our heart. And I guess, points of authority, doctors are points of authority, and we tend to think they're the be all and end all, but they're not.
Sometimes they get it wrong.
That's it. They're human like the rest of us.
And now that you are back sort of writing music and creating music, do you feel you approach creativity in a different way following the accident?
Definitely. So I, I think pre-accident, it was always just so easy and just flowing. And, I'd have an idea and a tune would come and bang, 5 minutes later, I've got a song. Um, but now I think, I don't know whether it's because of the wiring in my brain or just, it's got so much other stuff to focus on, um, just your day to day, remember to brush your teeth, all of the day to day stuff. I think that creativity for me now, um, and I will be honest, it's few and far between. So I've only managed to write, I think, two songs post accident. Um, and my next release, which is coming out on the 28th, is the first song that I managed to write after the accident and after my brain injury. So it means a lot. But I think in terms of my creativity, it's still there. I think when you're creative and you are a creative, it never goes away. I think everyone has that little spark inside of them. I think that it's just, to get it out of me is a little bit more difficult now.
Okay.
So, I'm not the kind of musician that is like, I'm going to force getting the songs out, to meet, that demand and that demand. And, in the industry, it is pretty full on and fast paced and all the rest of it. But I think I just decided that I'm going to do the best I can. And that's all we can really do. So when the songs come to me, they come to me fantastic. I get them down, I get them out. And yeah, I mean, I like to think I still got it.
So then looking ahead to the EP, is Oh Well a good example of what people can expect from the remainder of the EP?
It's really funny actually, because I thought about this question, and yes and no. Oh Well it's almost like an outlier. Um, Lyrically, it's like, I guess I like to think of myself more as a lyricist. So the same tones that are in Oh Well are throughout the EP. Um, However, I think in terms of the sound, the rest of the EP I feel carries a little more depth. So, I don't want to give too much away, but a few of the songs have cello in, and just, yeah, I suppose, um, I don't know whether it was sonically the right word, instrumentally, it carries a little more depth. So yeah, I think, I don't know whether that's just because Oh Well is on a ukulele and that's just, you know, super jovial and happy and makes me feel like I'm on an island in Hawaii or something. But yeah, I think the rest of the songs, bar maybe one, just carry a little bit more depth in them.
And on that note of depth, you also touch on some LGBTQI issues as well throughout the EP. How important
Mhm.
was it for you to weave that through the songs?
Well, I guess I don't even really think about it. I mean, I am gay, so that's just who I am. I write, I suppose, from quite the autobiographical standpoint. Not everything in my songs, you know, is that way, but a lot of it comes from that. So I mean, everybody knows what love is, right? Everybody experiences that, whether it's, you know, same sex, opposite sex, whatever. I guess it doesn't really come into my mind. Um, I think that at the time that I wrote Oh Well, um, gay marriage was not a thing in Australia. Um, so thank you, Australia, for getting on board with that. It's nice to be able to just be like everybody else, have my love celebrated. But yeah, I suppose it doesn't really factor in my mind. I guess, yeah, I think there's more in, it's not saying that it's not important. It is very important, but I think that there are also uh, bigger things that I'm wanting to discuss, I guess, beyond that. I think that, I don't know, I feel like the world is, you know, now is like really coming on board, and I don't think, you know, it's mm,
Like it doesn't necessarily require a conscious thought to weave that into a song these days. It's just if
yeah,
that's in there, it's in
I
there.
suppose, you know, and I suppose, isn't that the whole point, is we just want to be able to celebrate love,
Mhm.
which I suppose is kind of, yeah, why it doesn't really factor into my mind when I'm writing a song. But I do understand that, you know, if I can encourage hope and courage in people who are, you know, I always call it the alphabet because there's so many letters coming out. I never keep up. But you know, if there are other gay people out there who are struggling with that kind of thing, then if I can encourage them to be their truest, most authentic self. But I suppose that goes beyond sexuality, doesn't it? That's just all people. If I can encourage people in general to just love who they are and be their most authentic, truest self, then fantastic.
I feel like this EP is kind of a motivational speech in music form.
Well, it's funny because I kind of, people have said, you know, oh, you should use your story to sell your music. But that's not what I want to do. You know, I don't, that's not my aim. I would like to use my music in order to be able to speak, because I think that my experience in life, although a really hectic one, I think that even though it was such a negative thing, if I can make something positive from that, and I can encourage people to have hope and to have resilience and to believe in themselves, then I'm contributing to the world the best way that I know how.
So then beyond the EP, can we expect to see you heading out around the country with live shows?
I'm not too sure, honestly. I think that I've spent a couple years playing live and I love it. I think that I'm a little bit more focused at the moment on being in the studio and getting something out for people to listen to at home. I have had a couple of chats with some people from Japan actually, who are running a festival in the coming years, either next year or 2025. And they've asked if I would play the festival in Japan. So that's pretty exciting. But I guess with everything in life, I just take it as it comes. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at in terms of playing. If opportunities come up, then absolutely. But yeah, at the moment, I guess it's more of a focus in the studio.
Okay. So finally, where is the best place for people to support you and track your creative journey to get any updates in the future?
Well, there's the good old social media, Instagram at Jwood Music Official and Facebook at Jwood Music. I also have my website, jwoodmusic.com. You can listen to me on all streaming platforms. I guess the main one that everybody uses is Spotify. So you can catch me on Spotify. And yeah, I guess that's kind of the best way to track where I'm at. And, I love it when I get emails or people drop a line through my website or on social media, just, to say g'day and have a chat. And, if I can be an ear for someone, then that's fantastic.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, and good luck with everything in the future.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a great day.